Hey guys, this is Ben with No Accent Callers, and today I'm going to be going over the 9 brutal truths from running a 400 person call center at the age of 26 years old. For those who are just tuning in, they don't know me. My name is Ben. I'm one of the founders of No Accent Callers, and we run a 400 person call center primarily located in Egypt, where we do cold calling for real estate professionals and B2B companies pretty much nationwide in the US. So this video will be a combination talking about hey, what are some of the tactical truths if one person is trying to run their own call center and what they need to do in order to be better. And then also part of this will be, probably just more in general business advice for managing a lot of people and building systems up. And I have 9 truths right here that I kind of just put together. I wouldn't be surprised if I get off topic and it becomes way more just talking about my experience. So, let's get into it. So, truth number 1 is that data is key. Data is everything. And we could break down data into 2 categories. One, on the cold calling and technical campaign side, making sure you're calling from the right list is very important. Real numbers, you're calling the right homeowners, you're not calling a bunch of Spanish speakers. You essentially want to make sure that when you were dialing, you were putting yourself in the best position possible to be most efficient. Because some examples of, bad data will be a high wrong number rate or a high disconnected rate. And it does not matter how good everything else is. You are going to have a bad campaign if you have bad data. But where I would argue it is more important and overall for a business is data tracking. Any business is 3 things at the end of the day. Marketing, you need leads. Sales, you got to close them. And then fulfillment, you need to do the product or service that you say you're going to do. So for my real estate guys, marketing, we need seller leads. Sales, we got to get under acquisitions. Dispositions, we got to sell the house. My company, No Accent Callers here. Marketing, I need people interested in cold calling services. Sales, I need to close them. And then fulfillment, I need to do the cold calling for them. And you have data in all 3 layers. You have your own marketing data. Examples is just ad spend, cost per lead, cost per booked call, CPMs, submission rates, click-through rates, all of that stuff. Sales data, you have obviously close rate, you have ROI, you have ROAS, you have show-up rate, you have the percentage of talk time between you and the prospect, and then fulfillment, well, that's a whole other amount of data that we have. And the reason that I say data is key is because you cannot just look at one number. It all tells a story at the end of the day, all the way from first click on an ad, all the way down to the connection rate of the dialer, what type of list that we are calling. And most people, they scamp out on data. They don't track it correctly, but it is the key to everything within your business, especially if you're doing a cold calling one. But really just data in terms of your KPIs in general, more important than anything. Next is the dialer is the vehicle that takes you above and beyond. So assume that we have 3 parts of a cold calling campaign: data, dialer, skills, and training of the caller. Let's say I have the best data in the world, a shit fucking dialer, and then a great caller. Man, I have the best, most clean data in the world. I paid $1 million to get it skip trace, and I know this is the right owner. I'm making 50 dials a day off my VoIP, my Microsoft Teams. And then I have the most killer caller in the world. But I dial for 8 hours a day and get nothing. It's because the dialer's volume and setup is setting you up for failure. I had a talk recently with a wealth management prospect. They have $400 million under management, and the guy himself makes 350 click-through calls a day off his Microsoft Teams. And you know what happened? He would connect to 7 people a day. I don't have a calculator on me, but whatever 7 divided by 400 is, it's not good. Okay. Well, what the hell was wrong? Why was he not efficient? It's because his dialer configuration was not good. So when you call over a VoIP, so voice over internet phone, that is not meant to solicit people. That is not meant to telemarket. And it's going to have a higher likelihood of being flagged as spam. Plus, you have to click to call, manually put in the numbers. Versus when you have the correct dialing infrastructure, have it be like a combination of a parallel and a power dialer. Not only can you go from making 400 dials a day to 4,000, but you're going to get better connection rates compared to when you are talking about the relationship with the carrier and the verification of the DIDs. So DIDs is essentially another word for phone number, because when you make calls, you need to have phone numbers, and you have three levels of numbers based on Sir Shaken: attestation level A, B, and C. Just to keep it short, A is the check mark and it does not show up as spam. So when you have great data, you have a great dialer that makes a lot of dials, and you have a great caller. That's what I mean by the dialer takes you above and beyond. Without changing anything on the data or the caller side, you can engineer another 35 to 40% more leads just by correct dialing infrastructure when it comes to minimizing wait time and abandonment rate. But that's a whole other topic for another video. Number 3 is people are everything. And I know it's super cliche, but like I said, we have 400 people. I'm just moving this up a little bit. 400 people on the team. You are only as good as your people within this business. You need to treat them well. You need to put time and effort into them. Oh, that's weird. Just glitched on my end. Okay, that is better, but the people are the lifeblood of your organization. And when your people show up mopey, when your people don't feel heard, when your people feel like they're walking on eggshells and they don't feel secure, they don't have a sense of belonging, how are you supposed to expect them to go above and beyond? How are you supposed to get the most out of them? And it comes down to culture. You know, there's sometimes big cultures of pointing the finger. There's sometimes big cultures of just like clocking in and clocking out. And you are able to choose how your people work because it's a function of what you tolerate and the standards that you hold. If you tolerate shit, if you tolerate low standards, if you tolerate people showing up to meetings with no cameras on, if you tolerate people showing up to meetings 2 or 3 minutes late, how you do one thing is how you do everything. That becomes a whole entire company, and that's how you could rot a company from within, by letting the people become below standard. So in order to get high standard, high character people, not only is that a function of your hiring process, but it's a function of like what happens when they come in. What do you tolerate? What are the expectations that you align? And what happens when people don't meet that? Do we just let it slide? Or do we improve it? So number 4, especially if you're running an overseas company with different people in different countries, is understand the difference in culture is crucial. I will never forget one of the first days that we ran this company, and one of our old operations manager, we were talking about payroll, and I was like, yeah, cool, like I'll pay payroll twice a month, 14th and the 1st every single month. No, we pay once a month. What? Why? Like, don't you guys? It was just our culture. They wanted to get paid once a month, and then there's so many other things that go into understanding the culture, and this is how you are able to get them to tick. A lot of my team is from Egypt, and right now they're currently selling Ramadan. They have the iftar once or twice a day. I don't know exactly. I'm not an expert, but guess what? Making sure they have time to break their fast, making sure you understand that they're going through Ramadan. Just those little things right there, because expecting people in a different culture to work 100% American and follow that, it's the easiest way to build that disconnect within your people. And this also goes on the performance side. And this is something that I didn't really understand, is the concept of deductions. So in Egypt, where most of my team is, there is a culture of deductions, and I don't necessarily agree with it. We try to minimize it on our end, but I also let my team take control of it. If someone doesn't do something, if someone actually does something wrong, you have the ability to deduct salaries. And I was really confused. I didn't want that to happen because people are not perfect, but that is part of their culture and how they get top performances. Like, you have bonuses when people meet their KPIs for the bonuses, but then there's also deductions if they don't meet it. And an example of like different cultures is also like commissions. Go look at like a U.S. sales rep. A lot of them are going to be commission only. Some of the best sales reps in Egypt, they just don't want base. And typically the school of thought is that if they're commission only, they're going to work harder, they're going to eat what they kill. But that's the U.S. In Egypt, it's a little bit different. So next, that is really important, is incentivize people just beyond cash, because very similar to marketing, where you have different angles that speak to different personas, customers. It's the same way with people incentivizing. You'll have some people who really love leadership, and they'll choose having leadership and ownership rather than money. You have some people who are like, fuck leadership, I want to get paid. Most others are like, I want to be in a culture where I feel belonging. And learning how to incentivize people comes down to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So at the bottom you have physiological, next you have safety, you have love, then you have like belonging, you have self-esteem, self-actualization, and then a lot of people in this life are missing love and belonging. And most people, not most people, some people will choose like a better culture where they are treated well, where they're incentivized to grow, where they can learn skills, and maybe they make a little bit less money. Hypothetically, they can go make 10% more somewhere else, but they won't because they like that. And that's what we mean by incentivizing people other than just money. Promotions are a big part of it. Obviously, promotions, like you can go and make more money, but it's the leadership, it's the ownership, it's having people who are looking up to you. And that sometimes draws more people than just like a pure dollar in, dollar out basis. Another brutal truth is treat your hiring funnel like client acquisition. Going back to, this business is all about your people. So guess what? You want the best people in the world, you got to hire a shit ton. By default, call centers are high churn, especially with cold calling. And if you're only interviewing 5 people a week, like you're going to just choose the best out of the 5. But if you're hiring or interviewing 15,000 a month, you will get the best of the best. A lot of people spend time on client acquisition, getting more leads, closing more deals, blah, 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 blah. They don't treat that like they're people. So we want to be getting as many people as we can, going through the video interviews, having our HR team go through everything so that we can get the best of the best people, treating our hiring funnel like client acquisition. So another thing is extreme ownership is non-negotiable. And I know this from first experience about what happens when people start pointing the finger. Your company becomes toxic from within. You can't have hard conversations because people's feelings get hurt, and it just becomes a recipe for low performance. Extreme ownership is everything. And something that I did a bad job of was preaching this to people on our team, where I would much rather have someone make a mistake and own up to it than not try at all, because we used to have a culture of people not wanting to try, not wanting to solve problems because they were afraid of the repercussions. Going back to the whole entire like deduction things, like in Egypt, people don't want to take ownership for problems because they have a fear of their salary getting deducted, so they'd much rather just watch something like be shit than try to fix it out of fear for that. So we had to like let our team know very clearly, hey, I know other companies do deductions, we do not. We actually incentivize people who want to go and solve problems. Like, I'd much rather have you try to solve a problem and be wrong than not try at all and just tolerate mediocrity. And that's a function of extreme ownership, and it really is non-negotiable. You get a company full of people who don't take ownership and point the finger, expect low standards, expect just not good. So next thing you have is time in the game wins. Just keep fucking fighting. I promise you, there are so many times where you get punched in the fucking face. There are so many times where you think it really can't get worse, and then it does. And you say, okay, I didn't think it could get worse. It got worse. It can't get worse than this, and it will keep fucking going. There's a stat that like 98% of businesses in the U.S. are gone by 5 years. Just stay in the game, bro. I have seen so many of my competitors who were there before me fall. Some people who came in after me fall. You just stay in the game. You stay in the game. You keep getting fucking better, and then by default, you become the top guy in the fucking game. Staying in the game is hard because you're going to get punched in the face a million fucking times, but your resiliency is what keeps you going, what keeps you in business, what allows you to dominate the competition. Look, I go look at the amount of people who in my niche who advertise on Facebook ads. I believe I'm the only person that fucking advertises. Does that make me the top guy? I think so. Yeah, maybe they have bigger seats than me, but like, guess what? I don't have organic. I don't have none of this stuff. Everything they do is like at the highest level, paid advertising. I can grow a company through that. I don't see anybody else doing it. I've seen my competition run ads for a little bit, and then they stop. Time in the game is absolutely everything. Keep fighting. Because the longer you stay, I promise you the competition drops like flies. And if you were the last one standing, you will win. And going back to it is the game rewards who stays in it. So I guess I came up with 2 similar things towards the end, but to sum up like the lessons is that business is hard. It's not that hard. You just got to get good at it, because the longer that you stay in the game, the better that you get, the more you're able to handle things. Focus on skill development. For me, it was really important early in my career to get good at marketing and sales to be able to acquire clients. I was able to develop those skills, and I'm first to say I don't think I was the best operator. Didn't know how to track numbers, didn't know how to build systems, and that's a big focus for me right now. Is like, okay, I got marketing and sales kind of taken care of, but there's other things in the business that need to be worked on. How can I think in systems that put people in the right place to succeed, that buy back their time, that allow us to be more efficient? And you don't get to that point unless you have time in the game. You don't get to that point of being able to think 7, 8, 9 steps ahead if you didn't see the 150 steps that happened before. Time in the game is repetition. Repetition allows your skills to get better. Better skills gets you paid. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments if you want to see more of that.